Well, good morning and welcome to Good News for Today. Mona here, and I'm so glad you could join me. Our reading from today comes from the heart of John's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 20 to 35. It takes place just after Jesus has washed the feet of his disciples. Very truly I tell you, whoever receives one whom I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, Very truly I tell you, one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, Lord, who is it? Jesus answered, It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish. So when he had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, Do quickly what you are going to do. Now no one at the table knew why he had said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, Buy what we need for the festival, or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, Judas immediately went out, and it was night. When he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me. And as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. The Gospel of Christ. Well, please come and join me outside as we reflect on this particular Gospel passage. So Jesus begins this passage in John by saying, Whoever receives the one I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. This statement of Jesus really, I think, reflects a major theme in John's Gospel, and that is this theme of interabiding. Jesus in the Father in him, then his followers in Jesus, the followers in the Father in the followers. You know, who's in whom? Cynthia Bourgeau tells this wonderful story of her 4-year-old daughter, and they were going camping, so they went to the store to buy a tent, and the tent came in a bag, and so they brought it home, and the daughter said, "The tent is in the bag?" And Cynthia says, "Yes, it is." And so they took the tent out of the bag and set it up, and then they threw the bag inside the tent. And the little girl laughed and said, "Oh, now is the tent in the bag, or is the bag in the tent?" And I think this little particular story really captures this kind of puzzle almost of this interabiding, who is in whom. And so it helped for me give me an image of this whole theme of interabiding. Now, we've just before the passage that we had today, Jesus washes his disciples' feet. And in this great act of love and service, Jesus is showing his followers how to receive service, not only to give service. So Jesus isn't simply issuing his disciples this command to serve, but also to open their hearts to be able to receive service done. And that got me thinking about, okay, so what service of Jesus to me have I experienced? And I'm still sort of contemplating that one. Generally, as Christians, we think about what service we can do for others. We I think, find it challenging to be on the receiving end of service done to us. It's like there's this little voice inside us saying, no, 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 I'm fine. I'm the one who needs to be doing service to you. But in this foot washing of Jesus, and you can see Peter's resistance to having his feet washed by Jesus, but eventually allows Jesus to serve him. So what does this mean for us today? Well, um, I also consider this, I think, probably one of the greatest acts of love that Jesus could have done, did, in fact, at that supper, was to wash the feet of Judas. We need to consider that fact, that Judas was there and that Judas had his feet washed as well, which is really striking when you consider what Judas is about to do in terms of Jesus and handing him over to the authorities. And Jesus doesn't judge Judas, he doesn't complain, but rather does this service for Judas in washing his feet, and even shows him hospitality by giving him a piece of bread, which Judas receives. But you just have to wonder what was going on in Judas's mind as Jesus was washing his feet. So I think the good news for today is the depth and the breadth and the length of the love that Jesus has for all of us. Even in those moments where we are betraying our love and betraying Jesus in that way. So it's incredible love that Jesus is showing, and that we are to do the same. But in order to do that, we too first must receive this service of Jesus. We must experience this service that Jesus does for us, in order to spring, for our actions to spring out of that well of love that abides in us. And so I would encourage you this week to consider the great act of service that Jesus has done for you. Those acts of service that maybe were really difficult to receive, but that you allowed anyway. And because I think that one of the messages of this particular gospel is that unless we ourselves experience the service of Jesus on our behalf for us, that it will be a challenge for us to really, from the depths of our being, act in love and serve others. So that's a lot of food for thought. But anyways, I pray that God will speak to you this week, that you will have a wonderful week, and that all of your acts of service and love spring from that deep place within us where God and Jesus abide in us. Take care, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.